Hello and welcome to the Real Black Emancipation. I'm Themba Mbatha, your host, and today I'd like to take you on a journey, a little journey taking a look at how some of the successful people think. And this is derived from a study that I did on John C. Maxwell's book. I absolutely love John C. Maxwell. He's one of the pioneers in leadership in this decade. I absolutely love his outlook on life and leadership and success. So I'd just like to take you through some of the 5 things that stood out for me when I was reading his book. Now, number 1, he speaks about focused thinking. What is focused thinking? It is when you set clear goals, clear targets to get immediate feedback. So it's when you set clear targets to get immediate feedback. So many of us had New Year's resolutions when the year started, and we had goals and targets that we wanted to achieve. But in order for focused thinking to work for you, your goals and your targets that you want to achieve have to have a set time frame for you to achieve those. Have to have a time frame for you to finish off and check that off your list, right? So looking at that, what does that mean? When you set a goal, when you have a target, you have a time frame for you to achieve that. And in that time frame, you will get feedback from your progress in achieving that particular target. So that's focused thinking. That's number 1. Number 2, your takeaway is possibility thinking. So what is possibility thinking? He says here, most of the time we like to use impossible, the word impossible, when just things are difficult. When things are often difficult, basically. So when things are often difficult, we tend to translate that into impossibilities. So it may not necessarily be impossible, but it is difficult. And one thing about difficult situations, you get through those through working smart. So if something is difficult, your task and my task is to find a way around the difficulty in order for us to be able to achieve what we need to achieve, right? So as much as that is a good thing, I'd like to paraphrase possibility thinking as being optimistic. As much as optimism is a good thing, you also have to remain on earth. You also need to remain very realistic, alright? So the only way to counter, one of the ways to counter possibility thinking, optimism, is through realistic thinking. Thinking with your conscious brain. Yes, it is good to daydream. Sometimes it is good because that's where some of the goals that you set emanate from. What you dream becomes what you seek to achieve. That is good, but we must also maintain being realistic about the things that we want to do. And that's number 2 for you. Now, number 3, we look at anxiety. Anxiety goes with creativity. You cannot separate the two, he says. This basically means for you and I that we need to embrace stress. One of the things that I always share with the people around me is how I became the individual I became. And I became the individual I've become through embracing stress and pressure. How did I do this, right? Looking at pressure and stress, isolating the two, transforming them or translating them into a positive energy has allowed me to perceive them as a catalyst. And having perceived them as a catalyst, they then therefore became a catalyst for me to grow, learn, and develop into the individual that I've become. So that's number 3 for you, anxiety. Now, number 4, we look at telescopes. Telescopes. He says, if you want to do uncommon things, you have to think uncommon thoughts. John C. Maxwell. That's a quote. That's a quote right there. If you want to do uncommon things, you have to think uncommon thoughts. Now this is something that you need to ponder upon for a moment. In order for you to be able to think uncommon thoughts, you need to have an uncommon perception, an uncommon outlook on life. So one way to think uncommon thoughts is to look at things in a peculiar manner. Look at things in an uncommon way. Have an uncommon perspective on life. One principle about life that cannot be disputed is what you think, what you consume, what you see becomes a reality. If you're not able to see beyond your current circumstances, that will be your life for the rest of your life. If your life looks to be mediocre right now, and all you see is a mediocre future, a mediocre lifestyle, that's what your life will become. It will become a mediocre show, right? So that's the one thing, that's the key thing that we should always focus on. Having a positive outlook, having an uncommon perspective, which will lead to you translating into having an uncommon mindset. An uncommon mindset will then yield results of an uncommon lifestyle. And that's number 4 for you: telescopes, your outlook, your perspective on life. Number 5, and the last point for today, is repeat. Hashtag repeat. He says systems are simply good strategies repeated. So systems are simply good strategies repeated. You need to identify what works for you. Take common sense into common practice. So once you identify those systems, those good strategies, they become your common sense, your daily routine, which becomes common practice to you, which will yield the results of you achieving the goals that you want to achieve. And those are the 5 things that I wanted to share with you today as we learn and grow together, as we persevere through the hardships and the troubled times that we are living in. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.